Welcome to what is effectively the last event of the year for us. We've got a brand new year looming, but this is the end of this interesting year that we've had. So we thought we'll go through the usual headlines for anybody that hasn't had the pleasure of our company before. The agenda is going to go something like this. We're going to do an introduction and tell you a bit about why we are who we are, what we do on the practitioner calls, and what this maturity model thing is anyway. And then we're going to introduce our guest star, our superstar speaker, who's going to take us through, well, what are they going to take us through? If I'm lucky, I can advance the slides. No, I can't advance the slides. Who's on the slide control? Right, we'll see what we're talking about in a minute. If you want to join us again, and after this performance, this is somewhat up for debate, but you can download the whole recurring calendar series or drop straight into Outlook or whatever using that link right there, which someone's going to have to put into chat because we're not in a clickable slideshow today. So if someone would kindly share that into chat, that would be marvellous. You can also check out the meetup where we publish these events for the year ahead as well. And we're usually some months ahead in terms of which sessions we're going to have. In fact, let's have a look at that if we jump onto the next slide. Someone muted me. How uncalled for. Right. This is our overview slide of what's in the model. We have a purpose as laid out, which is really to enable organisations and the great folks working in those organisations to figure out where they are, whether that's good enough, and if it isn't, how they get up to the next level. So that's what the maturity model is all about. And use the tooling that we provide within that to convince their colleagues and their execs and everybody else that needs convincing to come along that journey. We build the whole thing within Microsoft Learn. So the whole of the maturity model is mounted in Learn. There's a link to the community docs on this page, but on the right you can see all the artifacts that the maturity model currently holds. There's about a dozen competencies. As usual, and it's been this case all year, there are two still not quite finished. Those are the ones in faded purple. The rest are live, and almost all of them have been updated over the last year. Then there are... My microphone keeps going on mute. There's an increasing number of practical scenarios where we take a specific business problem and apply the wider maturity model to it. We've just released the knowledge management one. We didn't write that. Rebecca Isaacson wrote that. So we invite people to write their own practical scenarios. And we have a set of tools, which is mostly around how to run your own practitioner workshops. And then we have a bunch of supporting articles. So that's the overall artifact set. Next slide. Thank you, dear. Oh yeah, people and communities, staff and training are the two which haven't been refreshed, but are in progress. And then we thought we'd have a go at laying all these out in a slightly different way. So this is actually what the set of tools looks like, just in a different angle. So the maturity model itself is about the competencies, principles, elevate, and practical scenario documents. Within the competencies, we've got a bunch of different sections. Some of those sections are subsections, and the subsections have a set of characteristics which define all the compact little things you can do to improve the way you operate. And the characteristics themselves are grouped out by level, etc. Right, next slide. So this is the underpinnings for the maturity model. It's a 1 to 5 level, and I usually describe it as level 1 is when you don't know what you're doing. Sometimes I use more forceful language than that, but level 1 is they're chaotic, we're just getting started, or we're incompetent. Sometimes that's appropriate level, and we're trying to figure out what we need to do. Often at level 100, people don't know how bad they are. At level, they just wonder why people quit. At level 200, you know how bad you are, and you're trying to figure out how to address that. So you know you're bad. You know you've got a problem. You're starting to introduce policies and procedures.
You're
and
attempting
processes.
to improve.
That's what it is. Yeah, you're on the road to improvement. You're not there, but you're on the road, and that's a really important step. A brilliant transitionary phase to be in. Level 300 is, hey, we've pretty much reached that first destination, that first way stop on the journey, which is we're at a place which is safe and secure and managed, and it's not a bad place to be. And it's absolutely fine if organizations are at level 300 across the board. So 300, nothing's on fire most of the time. People know what they're doing most of the time. You know, life is reasonably good. We might not be at the upper echelons of how we do it, but we're okay. Level 400 is when we're moving up to being absolutely world class. We're putting in feedback loops and optimizations and forward planning and all the things that great organizations do to be great. And then level 500 is this nirvana state that very few organizations reach, and even then in only small parts of their organization. And that's where the things are so good, they're optimized and self-correcting, and the culture is entirely supportive and drives proactive change. Organizations who disrupt themselves and come out the other side looking even better. These are the kind of places and people who epitomize level 500. And so that's what we try and do within the competency models, is take each of the competencies and break it down in that way. And next. So what we're going to do now is get pictures of all
Camera
the
on people.
No, David, it doesn't. This is where we're going to get a picture of all the people who are here, or as many who are not shy enough to come off mute or come off no video. So what I'm saying is, turn your videos on. Simon or Mark will go put us into community mode. We're all going to wave, and then we'll grab a picture for next time.
I'm switching it. It's doing it slowly. Gonna come out of spotlight, I think.
And remember the deal here. Got to come up. Turn your video on. Turn your video on.
Yay! Come on, be silly with us.
Carol's not even smiling.
Carol's always nice and smiling.
There she is.
I'm trying. That's my old picture. I don't know why it's showing my picture from last month on the screen for me.
That's the picture we took last month. That's why.
Well, isn't it okay? I don't see. All right.
Everyone brave.
That's not the live shot.
It's only the semi-live shot.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I will stop recording.
Four scoring 20 seconds ago.
Mm.
Hand it back to you.
So, and we're back.
And we're back. And the next
And
slide,
back.
please.
And the next slide. Here we go.
And just some sort of rules of conduct and stuff coming up. So if you want to get involved, then these are some of the ways that we can do it. We would love you to present a case study or tell the assembled throngs about how the maturity model has changed your life or your organization's life. If you'd like to have a go at writing a practical scenario, the call for speakers is open. We'd love that. By all means, in fact, positively encouraged, jump into the maturity model itself via GitHub and make suggestions, change things, tell us what you want to be better or we've missed, because this market we're in is moving so quickly we can't keep up. So we need you to tell us what we got wrong or what needs changing, and tell us what we need to put. Give us other insights, feedback. You can email us, you can do all the usual things to get hold of us. We're on social media, and if you'd like to share your experiences or just recommend the maturity model via social media or whatever other channels you've got, then we encourage that also. This is meant to be a safe space, so when we're doing the this bit or the next bit where Pia or whoever our guest speaker is telling us, be respectful, but absolutely be honest as well. Tell us what you want. come off mute, stick your hand up is good, or put something in chat and tell us what you're thinking. Next. Coming up soon, Christmas.
Yes, exactly. And then let's go to the next
We've
one.
had a good 2025. I maybe go back to that slide for a second. We had some great sessions over the course of the year, and of course, all of those videos are on our YouTube channel. All the slides are in our slide repository. So if you missed anything, feel free to go back. But we're working on 2020.
Okay. Next.
Go on, you take it, Mark.
Here we go.
We've got two things lined up so far. In January, Simon Doy, our own Simon Doy, who's on the call, will be talking about the maturity model for Microsoft 365 agent that he's put together. It's an what's that kind of server? MPC?
MCP.
Context. Brain, whatever. Show how you can take the content from the maturity model and actually use it in a different way with AI inside your organization. On March 17th, our own Matt Warnoff, who's also on the call, will be talking about the security competency that he's been working on for a long time. It is coming, and we probably will publish it before then. I think we will, and it'll be available, and so we'll let you know, of course, when that happens. The other months are open for other options. We've reached out to some other speakers who have joined us in the past to sort of come and update on the stuff that they have talked about in the past. Been doing these sessions since 2021, and a lot has changed. So sort of revisiting the different competencies is one of the things we want to do this year.
Yeah, and last time we revisited communication, and that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
That's right.
Okay, moving on. Here we go. Yes.
So these are the things that are sort of in process. We talked about security competency. We're also cycling through the articles, the content on a semi-regular basis to try to keep them up to date. Microsoft renames products. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. And sometimes things change. Copilot wasn't a thing 4 years ago. So we're always working on new stuff. The knowledge management practical scenario says ready to publish, but it's actually been published. We have a couple other things in process, and obviously we will update you on these calls when those things happen. The next session, that shouldn't say TBD. That is on me. It should say it's the
agent.
The agent thing that Simon is going to cover. I will fix that for the slides before we publish them. So hopefully you can join us for that.
Yes.
And now, without further ado, Pia, you are on deck for talking about practical scenario of Copilot adoption, getting to level 300. Okay, take it away.
Thank you. So let's get into it, because like what we said, level 300, it's defined, right? We have stuff in order, but it's not just about Copilot. So just like aiming for what is it that we want, right? We want to have the business transformation. That's the real prize. We're all working on the tier 1, the individual productivity. This is, we're starting to play around with Copilot. Everyone has, maybe a little agent, and it's rolling ahead. And we save some time individually by being in control of stuff, right? But we want the business transformation, right? This is what we want. We want process optimization, customization, development democratized. That is, that it's not just IT that works with AI, in the core business. And and we have agents as a workforce. This is something that we've been talking about a while now, that we have agents that act like people. And everything goes quicker, and we want the strategic capacity, right? Human focus on the fun stuff that we need a brain and, common sense and strategic and all that. And AI handles the boring stuff. That's what we want. And where are we at right now? Let's see. Who's making sound? Who is? I'm going to mute you, Simon. That was you. Papers. Do you actually have papers on your desk still? Oh my God. Sorry. No, it wasn't. It was no paper. That was okay. Good. So, and I'm going to reference a lot for AvePoint, their report that came out, and I read it, and I thought it was so good to actually see some real data on this Copilot rollout that we're in the middle of. So where are most people today? At the level 200. Got a champions program, and we have some people get licensed, not everyone. And we try things and we share some tips, and there might be some department on IT or a little project on IT that are trying things. There is some form of AI policies that we're going to have a responsible AI. We're not going to share our IP with AI. I'm sorry, my camera is zooming in and out. I have to stop that. And there's some trainings. We have a little bit of a lunch and learn, and we have some champions meetings, and it's usually like 1 or 2 people talking, and then everyone else just nodding along and not, reading email or something. We have some metrics. We're trying to track adoption rates to see who's using what in the Copilot, and we try to get executive awareness, but they mostly know buzzwords, right? Like whoever sees top management actually doing something, in the business with AI and not just, the productivity stuff. And this is good. This is good. This is really good. This is, come on. And you should feel good about being here. Like, this is a level 200. Like, you're starting, but there is a big but. And the truth about it is that it feels like success because it's honeymoon, right? In the beginning, we're trying stuff and it's fun and look at this cool prompt, but then we hit a plateau. We get the adoption that's stuck on 20-30%. The champions can't scale because it's still just volunteers, and most of the organization is still in pilot mode. And then after a while, we hit the problem, right? The quality issues, the data. We don't have, all the weird access, the legacy data that we have, old documents, all of that stuff, with the permissions on files and all that. It's just it has such a low quality. And then we, run into the budget thing that says okay, we spend so much time and energy on this, and what are we getting in return? Not much. And those who have been leaning in and learning and doing things, they kind of move on because, they want to be someplace when they're not stuck. And anyone who knows anything about AI is just, hot on the job market right now. So it feels like you're moving forward being in 200, but what actually is going on is that you're building technical and organizational debt. So it feels like success to be here, but it's a stepping stone. It's not the destination. It's not okay to stick around at the 200 level because it's lethal. It's a trap. Because we put into that we think that we have information management programs, but we don't have the data classification and incident prevention. So we're just, running in the dark. And we have invested a lot of money. And these numbers are staggering to me. I love AvePoint for doing this report. 81.9% expect return on investment in 12 months. And reality 85.7% slowed rollouts. And it takes so much longer to get it out there. And this is what hindering adoption. And we're building new technical debt, right? Data is up 25% year on year. That means that we're just like adding on, AI creating data on top of data that AI has created. It's a copy of a copy of a copy, and it gets more and more stupid as we go along and the quality goes down. So the real consequences, right? Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but I really need you to understand that it is a dangerous place to be at. You don't want to burn out your champions. You never want to burn out your champions because if you put too much on them, it starts fun, right? But then after a while, when these champion gets a hard time for, well, there's a leakage, or why hasn't anyone checked this, or why hasn't anyone done that? And the quality and risks, Air Canada, this was so much, it really baffles me. AI hallucinated a policy, and the court said, you got to honor it anyway. So, and they tried to say that this AI was a different legal entity, but the court's like, nah, it's your bot, and if it said that, then you got to stick by it. And well, I don't have to go through this, but there are some serious leaks that's going on because we don't have control of our data. And the business impact, like when we don't get that ROI, when we have this chaos amplified, because when we put really great technology on bad processes or bad data, we're going to run over the cliff just faster. So, and what happens when our users lose trust? Then they're going to go back to old ways of working, and then we don't get that productivity that we want. So, but before we go any further into this, I just want to say, thank you, and it's going to be okay. We need to acknowledge that when Corona, we all went remote overnight, and we have so many duct tape solutions out there, and AI is really at breakneck speed. We're all exhausted, right? Like, it's like we're building the plane as we're flying it. So, and every organization has a MacGyver solutions and skeletons and workarounds that just became the process. And a lot of you guys that are on here have been heroes for way too long. So we're not going to start, pointing fingers or, letting the toxic management run the show. We are going to, hug it out, because once we do this work, once we come into the next step, we're going to find so much stuff that we're not going to be particularly proud of. But once we handle it and we do it to the level of 300, the business is going to be great. It's going to be great. So the top blockers to AI rollout is inaccurate AI output, outdated, irrelevant information, and that it's hallucinating. Like, it's not change management. It's not that people need training in AI. That is, it's still big, 61%, but it's not the biggest hindrance for rolling out AI. It's not. It's, inaccurate data and data security concerns, unauthorized exposure of sensitive data. Like, if we don't have labels on it, if we don't have the guardrails, if we can't protect our data and it comes out, that's what happens when people start just messing around with it. And also, people don't see the value of using AI in the work. And what does that imply? Well, I'm going to get to that. And this is what it is, right? Why we're failing at this is that we do need to have the business processes at level 300, because we cannot automate and work with AI unless we know what we're doing. If we can put in all of our business processes or our core business processes, that we have them documented and they're great, then yes, this is what we want AI to do and the agents to do. We also need to have the staff and training at 300. And we need to have the management of content and information architecture at 300. These 3 competencies they're supportive, right, of the Copilot and AI implementation. And when I put that in again, the 25% year-over-year data volume that increases. Well, we need to stop that, right? And we do that in management of content. And the bad information architecture compounds at artificial intelligence speed. It's really hard with it. IE and AI. It's not just me. Okay, so we're gonna do. Luck favors the prepared, right? So going from 200 to 300 in the business processes is that we have it assigned. It's not a person knowing this. The key shift from Sam knows how to do this to the process is owned, documented, measured, and ready for systematic execution or automation. Then we have what we put in the hands of the people, like this is what we're going to use AI for, to speed up this process, to make it better. So it needs to be assigned, it needs to be documented, it needs to be measured, and we have the improvement mechanism in place. And it has to be, understandable for people. Moving into the staff and training. And this is important because we have to move away from when new information is volunteer. We have to have HR to actually take responsibility to make this mandatory training. And they're not supposed to go and nag on individuals. They're supposed to go and nag on managers to say like, okay, you're a sales manager and your salespeople have not done the mandatory training, because it's the managers who tell their people what to do and prioritize. And now we can't go out and buy or rent the knowledge anymore because it's going so fast. So it's so much faster and sustainable to train our employees that knows our business, that has a lot of knowledge in their heads about how we're running it. It's so much better to train them than to try and go and find some AI expert to help you. Because if you get an AI expert, they're good at AI, but they're not good at your business, right? So, and if you don't have the information architecture and all these things in place, then that person is just going to sit and learn about your business. And then that they know stuff about AI, yeah, well, that's pretty good, but they can't use it really. So it's like we really need to invest in the people that we have right now. And then we have the management of content. And we really need to work on metadata and taxonomy, right? Anyone, I want to see some hearts here for taxonomy. I know Microsoft is giving us a hard time working with it, but I love taxonomy. I love how we can tag things. And also the legacy cleanup begins now. I learned a new word, rot, redundant, obsolete, trivial. We need to remove that consistently, because this is the biggest reason why AI is hallucinating, because it's so much crap out there. And since we can't just like delete it, or we can say like this is irrelevant because these old teams, don't look at them. Look at this file server in SharePoint or something. And it has to be structured, findable, and governed. It has to be. Because information architecture is not something that AI can help us with. It's something that AI needs to be able to work. And the lifecycle management policies. And this is so important because we can't do that. The author is the one who is the owner. That doesn't work anymore. We have to have clear ownership of the content that we have, and we need to be able to clean it out and work with it. So, and we need to stop measuring the wrong things. It's lame to look at how many people have gotten this license, right? It's like we need to measure what actually matters. Because if we're measuring like how many people are doing prompts, that's like measuring how many emails we send. It doesn't matter. It's not what's important. Like, sure, we're gonna, for the license stuff, we need to know like, okay, how many has gotten this and like, are they actually using it? But that's not what's important. What really matters is that we actually get our business processes up and running better and 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 better. And then when we come to the future, right, is like our agents that they do the output so much better. Like this is a 400 thing. I just want to take a look at that so we can see what the future holds, because this is why we need to do all the hard work to go from 200 to 300 in all of these very heavy competencies, but it's the only way to survive. And I'm not even kidding. So, and this is also like this report. I think do I have the link here? I'm going to put the link in the chat as well to the report. I put it out on LinkedIn, but I'm going to put it in the chat as well because you need to read it. You need to read it. And so, because like 89.6% track usage, like this is just so, and like this is the best metrics that we have for our AI rollout. That is so sad. So how to do this? Do it in parallel, because it's not the same people doing the same thing, but they need to be kept together, right? So for the business processes, we have the owners, the analysts, and the architects. They need to document, measure, and prepare this for automation. So they're going to do a lot of, what do they use? Visio, PowerPoint, a lot of stuff to just like document what are we calling things, what are the names of our things, and how do we know that we actually achieved what the business is supposed to be achieving. And then in the staff and training, here we need to have HR and learning and development professionals. We have to look at managers, and they have to adopt AI before their teammates. And I'm going to come back to why that is. And we need to have appointed champions. I'm going to update the staff and training competency with a policy that I always bring to my customers. And it's putting a pretty low bar, but still a bar on the champions programs, and saying like you have to spend at least 4 hours a month in this program, and your manager has to accept it, because this is how we prevent the burnout of our champions. Because if we say like that, it's time, you have to do 4 hours, and then what you do above the 4 hours, that's between you and your manager. Some can do more, but you can't do less, because we can't start at zero. If someone here has been running a champions program and knows that guy, why is it always a guy? I don't know, but that guy that comes into the champions meeting late and is pissed and asks about things that we just talked about. And it says, sorry, I'm late. Well, it doesn't even say it. Sorry, it's late. He's just like, I'm late. Can you do this? Can you tell me this again? And think it's like a personal support session. We don't want to have those people in a champions program. It's just like, no, you come prepared. You put in 4 hours, you do the training, and you get tasks and stuff, and we can do fun stuff. And because then it will become fun for everyone else. And this is also how we, be accountable for the things that we're doing. And when we have this systematic training, because we need to have the training, and we also need to have the testing and things, and we have to have it continuously. So this champions program, like, it should be an appointed champion from each leg of the business, because we need to have everyone in the room. It doesn't matter if, the Linda in HR, she's not that good at computers. Like, it doesn't matter, because she will get inspired to do something awesome with the stuff that she has. Because most of this stuff isn't really that hard, but when you put it into context with what you're doing, it's really going to fly. It's going to take off. And then the information architecture, right? Information architects, records management, data governance specialist. These are the one who takes a look at, okay, what we have, how should we handle this? Can we start working with this? And then when we have the systems in place, the big think systems, then we can use AI to start cleaning up, to look for things that we, wanna just kill, because we need to kill a lot of things. And all of these should not be 3 different projects. It should be in a program, because once these gets to rolling, like the champions program will work with the business processes. Then all of a sudden, the champions program is actually going to give the value that they were missing, and they're going to be able to use it. And with the information architecture, where they start to be like, okay, what is actually sensitive in our business? We can put that aside. We can begin with that. We put our sensitive stuff aside, so we won't leak that. And we will talk to these champions, people getting the training, and say, like, this is sensitive. This is the definition of sensitive, so you can't use that. And this is what's correct that you can use. That is, flagged in some way, so we can be like, okay, this is more important than all of this other stuff that we haven't gone through yet. And also, when we have the information architects, where we put more and more into the place where it should be, in Teams, in SharePoint, in some blob storage archive, when we move into the e-archive and records management, the things that we need to keep, then we can like push to that and like, this is the truth. And if you find something here that says something, and you find something that contradicts this someplace else, you ignore that. And then all of a sudden, like, we won't have the leakage, and we will have the skills to actually do this, and we will do this for the right things. Wow. Now, I'm so passionate about this. So, yes. So, and when this all gets paid off is when we get into the level 400, then our agents are going to need managers. And it's not IT who is the boss of these agents. If we have a sales agent, it's not IT. IT suck at sales, right? So it's obviously a sales manager who is the sales, who's the boss of the sales agent. So when we define our things, and it leans on all of the stuff that we have in these 3 competencies, just looking at the work description, that will be the instructions and tasks and scope for that agent. And that's something that a manager would do. Okay, this sales agent is for this region, these products, this thing, this is what it's measured on, this is what it can say, right? This is what it can sell. We can sell anything under $50 automatically. That's fine. Or, all these guardrails. And the instruction and trainings, when we update the procedures, because that's also, AI is being developed on a breakneck speed, so will our reach be able to do in our business processes. So as those change, the managers of the agents needs to change with it, to be like, okay, that's old, this is new, we need to put this in. So the prompts and the configuration, that has to be someone who is managing that. Performance review, that's the quality control and KPIs. And if we measure the stuff like, okay, who has an Copilot license, imagine us measuring our agents for how many tokens they're using. Does that give us a business impact? No, it does not. It maybe can go for some consumption, but that's not what we want. And we need to have the business process owner to say, like, okay, now we've changed this process. We have added these target groups. We have added these products. We have added all of this stuff. And then we're going to need to have a manager that understands that can run that. So this is why the managers have to go first. to go in and learn about AI. I think that every manager should have an AI assistant that is trained to do their, the job that they can do to them. So when they come into, getting closer to the 400 space, they already know this stuff. And they could also get their team, the right people doing the right thing, and see these agents evolving. I feel like I've been standing on my soapbox. Does anyone have any comments? Because now I want to open up the floor.
I definitely have to agree with you about IT not needing to be the bottleneck and end all be all when it comes to agents, because of the fact, as you said, we're not good at sales or other things. The way I describe it is the analogy of a Rubik's Cube in the center of a conference room. So if we're all sitting at the same conference table, I put a solved Rubik's Cube in the center. I might say I see red, white, and blue, but Pia, you're going to say I see blue because it's on top, and I see green and yellow because of your perspective of that Rubik's Cube is different. It's the same thing in business. Everybody in the organization sees the picture as a whole. It's the same object. However, if you do not allow the different perspectives to actually weigh in, you're going to have a huge missing chunk, and it's not, you'll never hit 500, let alone 400.
Absolutely. And I feel so much for like IT, just because we tinker with stuff. They'd be like, oh yeah, you have to drive this. It was a joke that one of my old managers once said, is like, if it has electricity in it, it's supposed to be IT, right? And no, it's not, because we in IT are pretty bad at a lot of stuff that other parts of the organization are good at. One thing that I always say, that IT is pretty bad at documenting and training, because we'll figure it out. We have a wiki somewhere, and we'll pull together some amazing brains, and when we solve it, right? We're MacGyvers. We solve it. And we have other parts of the organization is a lot better on, quality assurance, doing all of this stuff. And I'm like, no, this is actually what you need to know to be able to sell this pharmaceutical or something. So we do need to have all of these different aspects. And also, we in IT, we need to drop the balloons and t-shirts and like, hey, come check out my cool planner thingamajiggy, to actually focus on the AI threat and performance and reporting and do all of that stuff. Yes. Anyone else? I don't have any more slides. I'm going to say that. So I'm actually going to stop sharing, because I want to open up to more discussion. So please come off and turn on your video, and let's talk about this. Yeah, and I'm going to go.
I really appreciate your presentation. One of the things that I feel that we're missing out on, though, is the real world challenges associated to it, like budgets. Because there's organizations like ours which gets an IT budget, and IT has to live within that budget for everything that we do. And if we are just going to be handing out Copilot licenses to everybody, then it will become very expensive very quickly. And there's an ROI associated to that. There's roles that are associated to that. There's alternative solutions that we might already have that could be used instead. And I appreciate that Microsoft wants to go down the road of everybody should have Copilot, but at the same time, in the real world, that is not the case at all. We can afford so many licenses off of the budget that we get.
Yeah, and that's also why we should look at to like, what are we measuring? If we are measuring business processes, then a business owner is going to say, all of my salespeople need to have a Copilot license.
Which is what we heard.
Yeah, and it should go on the sales budget.
But it
Um,
doesn't. Everything
but
comes
it,
out of IT's budget. So
uh,
this is again that real world situation where the sales budget pays for sales, not for IT. IT pays for IT.
yeah, and it's a semantic tough one, right? It would say like, okay, so if we would have a garage, would like the garage pay for all of the sales people's cars? No, if you hire another salesperson and they need a car, that would go on a sales budget, right? So it's also a little bit to be like, okay, antivirus stuff, that's us, that's IT, right? We're gonna have the license for Intune and backup and stuff. That's IT costs, I think. But then when it comes to leaning in, the finance system, that isn't an IT cost, that's a finance cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because it says IT. Well,
I think
not everyone.
I think one perspective on this too is there have been lots of things like Copilot over the years where if we don't do this, we're all gonna whatever. And the adopter curve applies to this too. If you're not ready for Copilot, you have to, I think, as an organization, admit that and figure out how do you get ready for it. If you don't have the infrastructure in place, if you can't train people, if you can't afford the licenses, then that's the conversation. I think that I've been saying FOMO is not a business requirement. I'll just keep saying it because I love it. But it's no different than lots of other things that come up in technology, we're going to change everything about how we market to our customers. Well, great, but that takes planning and effort and lots of other stuff. So just jumping into it and handing out licenses is probably the level 100 way, right? Yep. We certainly have some clients who are just like, oh, well, everyone should have this, so let's give it to them. And then they don't measure what happens. They don't know whether any outcomes are better. They don't, it's just, and now everybody has it. Great.
No.
So if you want to be at level 300, you want to approach it a lot more sort of mindfully than that.
Yeah, and also like to do some pushback. It's like, oh yeah, we want to have the licenses. Great. We love people who want to learn new things. What are you going to use it for? I don't know. Okay. Then, it would be like, I want a car. Okay, what are you going to use it for? Visiting our customers, doing deliveries, doing pickup. What are you going to do with the car? I don't know. So it's just like we also in IT need to be like, okay, this is IT stuff, and we should never talk about IT stuff with the business, like our VPNs and our firewalls and our backup stuff, and like we should never talk about that. We should just be like, okay, that's our business. We're going to do that, and yes, that's going to cost money. But when it comes to the stuff that is enabling the business to do something more, we should talk about it. It's like, yeah, so what's the business need? What is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to run faster into a wall or to get to the customer to deliver something?
Just for clarification purposes, I wanted to make sure you understood how most of our IT groups work is that we don't want silos from other groups. So if a finance company finds a finance piece of software and we already have a finance piece of software, we don't want them to have the budget to go purchase software. The software should be purchased by IT, and IT should be guiding them on those types of decisions. So when you say right. IT should not be involved, I think IT should definitely be involved, and it should be the driving force for helping them make those decisions.
Well,
I was going to say something similar. IT need to have a role in governance of those IT assets, but they shouldn't be the ones making the business decision on whether an individual or a team or a department should have that particular asset. They should be maintaining standards though, so that so that there is a common corporate standard for what tools are being deployed.
Because
And
like
and
the
there,
IT infrastructure should be owned by IT. Like this is our platform, standard platform, our platform choice. And if someone goes against it, they're going to be a lot more cost. And then we have to put in this cost. If you want to use, OneDrive and Box, then we need to have an FTE to do the Box stuff. Like you're allowed to do it, but then it's going to be extra costs. Because it is sometimes the business thinks like, oh, okay, I go around IT and don't, have IT in the room when I, make the purchase decision. They think that they don't have to follow the frameworks or all of the licenses, all of the laws and regulations. And when I go out and talk to my customers, it's like, no, you have to. But this way, if you go outside the platform that we have, the stuff that we have, that means that you are the one taking the risk for that. It's like, I'm not going to buy stuff for you. I'm going to make sure that you buy the stuff that we have. And if we have a platform that kind of solves your problem, then I recommend that. But if you want to go outside because you have a specific business need for that, then, I'm not going to stand in your way, but I'm going to make sure that you do the right thing.
as a consultant, I've seen organizations do this 6,800 different ways. Sometimes it's IT pays for everything. Sometimes IT pays for nothing. Sometimes it's charged back, blah, blah. There are lots of different models. The important thing is that decisions are made that make sense. And with Microsoft 365, the fact that licensing is a core function that, administrators can get to means there's a gate. That gate has to be managed well. It shouldn't be yes, but it should be yes, and, right? It shouldn't always be no, we don't have the budget for that, because that doesn't do anyone any good. That's not a conversation. The conversation ought to be, there's this great new technology, Copilot. Let's talk about what difference it can make in our organization. And it then becomes a conversation with IT and everyone else. And if IT can start that conversation too, which, doesn't always happen, hey, there's this great new technology out there. Let's talk about that in the context of everybody getting their work done better. Then IT is seen as an enabling department as opposed to a blocking department. And that's important.
That is very important. I agree with you. Do we have any other comments? Do we have anything in the chat? Let's see. For those who...
Chat may or may not have been busy.
Let's see. Yeah, 4 ways to pay for your credits. Oh God, the credit math. You can hear me say now, it's like when I'm being angry at my AI, it's like, don't waste my time and tokens. I think that's going to be a new saying. Stop babbling. Yes, today's presentation is going to come up. Mark is going to fix one slide and it's going to be up there, and we're going to get it. And please steal this stuff. So like, okay, let's see here. What is it for? Yes, please. How about who should be responsible for the AI strategy in the enterprise? Well, I think it's top management that should be responsible for that. It's like any other, big strategy that affects the entire business. If the strategy and what markets are we going to go into? It's not like someone's just like, hey, I like Spain, so I think we should go into Spain as a market because a friend of mine has a house there. No, it should be like, okay, this is an opportune moment for us. And that's also when we come back to the business processes, right, at 300. And that's also where you get the business case. If we can, and I just like, we have done all of this before, right? Mark said it. It's like, there's always this new thing. Then we had data-driven decisions, right? Everyone had to have that. If we look at the business case for signing agreements digitally, that is exactly, the same type of business case that we should put together for the business. And say, okay, if you can pitch to 500 customers instead of 75, how much is that worth? Yeah, okay. So do you want to invest in this technology where we can do that? And it will be better managed and all of these things. So that's why we come back to the business processes, because that's what we're going to do. And then it will be clear, because the sales manager may be like, wow, I'm going to make so much more money. Or I'm going to hit my targets. So that's why we do that. Okay. For us, IT pays, but the department are charged by IT per employee. Yeah, and that's, I've seen that a lot too. And I think like what's under the hood, I should never discuss with the business if they want, security features. That's an IT decision because it's an IT system that we use. And then we should just charge, charge the business for that, or like, you can put that into the IT business. But when it is something that is enabling the business to do something better, faster, or with a higher quality, then they should pay for it. The budget has to roll up to someone. Reimburse means they control the software. No, they don't control the software. They are responsible for the need. And that's also something that I'm not here to give you a hard time. I just want to help you because when I used to work with, I worked at a company that actually we charged our internal, we really did run internal projects towards the business, and they were allowed to go outside to go and, get their IT. And I said, like, they're not, the manager of this. They're the manager of the need. And I would interpret their need to an IT solution, because nobody needs a drop down. Someone needs to have information that you can choose from. And so we need to have IT people to interpret the need and put forward some technology that will solve that need. And that's also something that I think a lot of IT people are, just, kicking the bucket and say, oh, well, it's because they don't understand how IT works, so they can't order the things. Like we should not take bad orders from the business. We should be like, okay, well, let's focus on the need. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? That's one of my favorite questions. What are you trying to achieve? And to switch from like, I want the button here or there, it doesn't matter. What the goal matters. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. Is there anyone who has another comment? Oh, you're welcome. Has to go to what doctor? The ghost doctor? What is that? Wow. Okay.
So one more tooth doctor. One more thing that I keep wondering about. So when you're at level 300, Pia, how do you think organisations can or should keep up with the pace of change? Given that we're about to hear another rafter of announcements about Copilot and AI in general, or starting around about now, actually, for the next few days, what should be part of their level 300, level 400 approach to staying on the front foot with this stuff?
Well, considering the 3 different areas, is like we need to have, keep the hygiene up with our information architecture. New things are coming, and we're going to, do the life cycle stuff, and we're going to do that. And it seems like, okay, now we have a better system to do that. We have a new purr view. I don't know, meow view. I don't know what's going to come. We have a different way to do that. That's fine. So those information architects and records management, they keep up with the technology trends in their area, but they keep, transparent, being transparent with HR. So like, okay, we need to teach people how to use the meow view. And then we come to the business processes. We'd be like, okay, you want to use the meow technology to speed up your business processes, and be like, no, we don't need to invest in that because we're in a really good place. So this still works. So you always do the reviews, but But when you come to the level 300 on these things, people will know what to do, how to do it, and why they're doing it. And then they're going to keep doing it. Because if you're a business, business process owner, you're going to keep being a process owner and have that constant improvement that you have for process, running processes.
Well,
Yes.
I guess part of my question is who should be looking at what is coming out and deciding whether it's a IT problem, a business problem, a particular department opportunity. How do you handle that part of it?
Well, I always say, and I love this, like I call it the governance group. That is the group of, where IT, HR, communication, legal, and the office, so to speak, like they're always together to make sure that this platform is healthy and talk to the business through Champions program and through a digital leadership program where we go back and forth with the needs, and you have the mandate from the top management group, because then we're looking at the Rubik's Cube, like all of the Rubik's Cube all the time. Okay. Anyone else? No? Well, we're 2 minutes over, so thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope this was good and gave you some energy and a little pat on the back. Thank you, everyone. Bye.